Hey, how's everyone going? Welcome to Bubble Talk. My name is Sky, and first, let's introduce the bubble tea for the day. So today's bubble tea is Earl Grey milk latte, not with pearls, but with grass jelly, or I think here they call it like herbal jelly or something like that, right? So let's take a taste of this. Oh yeah. All right. You guys let me know what kind of bubble tea you got. What kind of bubble tea you have, or what type of coffee you have, or lattes. Just write it down in the room. I want to hear what kind of things you guys have here. So today's bubble talk is going to be a really, really good one because a lot of people are asking for this. What are the first steps of starting something new? Now, this is something that everyone wants. Everyone wants to be better. Okay, we do. And the crazy thing is, we had the greatest and the most perfect opportunity that's happening right now. For a lot of us, there's a lockdown, there's an MCO, there's a quarantine, and we have time, right? Some of us aren't even going to work, and we're working at home. We have even more time. You don't have to take a shower. Well, you can still take a shower. But, you know, we have more time. We don't have to travel or anything else. We've had 3 to 4 months of tons of time where we could have started something. And if you think about it, by the 3rd month, we should be pretty proficient at something. But a lot of people say that, oh man, I wish I started this, I wish I started that. And today's topic is one of the hardest things is for people to start, right? Just starting something is a very, very hard thing. And we're going to look back at the last 3 to 4 months of this lockdown, this MCO, this circuit breaker in Singapore, whatever it is. And we're going to think to ourselves, oh, what I could have done with that much time. Because actually, these 3 to 4 months is not just regular time. Do you know why? Because if you think about the regular day, you have your 8 hours of work plus your travel, which turns into about 9 and a half hours, plus eating. But we're saving so much more time. We're not going to work, which means we have this 3 months to 4 months is actually like 6 to 7 months. It really is. But the hardest thing that we've been struggling with is, how do we start? Like, how do we get ourselves going in starting something new? So today, in today's Bubble Talk, we're going to talk about what are the first steps in starting something new, right? So everyone, grab your bubble tea, grab your lattes, your espressos, your coffees, whatever it is, and let's get into today's talk. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is this. What's in your head? Okay? Now, what's in your head, especially when we want to start something new? So what's the first thing that comes into our mind? It's like when you're doing something new or thinking about something new, it's super exciting. Right? Super exciting. You're like, oh, you're filled with hope. You have so much joy. And you have these thoughts in your head is like, wouldn't it be great if I was healthier? Wouldn't it be great if I had more energy? Wouldn't it be great if I had $10,000? Wouldn't it be great if I had a car? Wouldn't it be great if I had a better job? Wouldn't it be great if I could be a better speaker? All these wouldn't it be greats come in our heads, and our minds start going. We're like, oh, this would be so great. And then we start thinking and we start planning. And then we have what you call genuine excitement and joy. You guys know that feeling, right? It's almost that feeling when someone asks you, what would you do with $1 million? What would you do if you won the lottery? And we start thinking like, oh, I would give for me it'd be like, I give 10% to church, and then I buy my mom a house, and then I buy myself a car. And it gets really exciting because it's just so amazing. Then, what happens? But you know what? It's going to be pretty hard. And not only is it going to be hard, it's going to take a lot of energy. And not only is it going to take a hard energy, well, is it even possible? And then your mind goes even further and you say, what if I fail? Because I've tried so many times to do certain things. I've just failed. You know what? Come to think of it, I don't think there's anything I was successful at, right? And then your mind starts going to this deep pit, step by step by step. And finally, where's the next step in your mind? The next step is, what would other people think? Oh, they'll think I'm a failure too. And they're going to think that, oh, but you know what? They probably already think I'm a failure, and this is just going to prove that I'm a failure. Oh, I don't know if I should do this. Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't even start. In the end, what happens is we overthink all these things, and all of a sudden, we just don't start. We don't start it at all. And since we don't start at all, what's worse is, put it this way. if this wasn't a big deal, like starting something new wasn't a big thing, I wouldn't have to talk about it. And people wouldn't be asking about it. Right? Like some people even say this, well, you know what's even worse? What's even worse is some people, like my friends and my family, they don't even support me. So I tell them about what I want to do and they don't even support me. Friends and families and teachers and all these people don't support you. But reality is this. Do you actually think that they're sitting there trying to, like destroy your dreams? And the answer is no. A lot of times it's not just, sometimes it's people doing it to us, but also a lot of it's in our own minds. Where someone can just trying to be, help you with a certain situation like, hey, you know what? I know you want to do this, but I want you to think about it deeply because it's not going to be easy. And then we're going to think, oh no, they're against me. They don't want me to do it. And a lot of times it's just our own mind. In our own minds, we're just taking what we think about ourselves and projecting it onto them. So even with the smallest negative thing, even though they're not trying to be negative, they say something that's like kind of against what you want, and you're like, no, they don't want me to do it either. People get discouraged. People lose strength and energy. And then they just, well, it's not even quitting. You know why? Because you haven't even started. So you can't even quit because you haven't even started yet, right? So this is what we're going to talk about today is what can we do? What are the first steps in starting something new? Now, if you guys go all over the internet, you're going to find tons of stuff like, build some good habits and do this and this. If you've been listening to Bubble Talks the entire time, one of the biggest things I want to start with is up here, okay? We have to start with the most important thing. It's always starting up here. And this is where people kind of win and lose all the time. And that's why I always talk about this point here. And that's why I talk about one of my favorite Bible verses that really helps me a lot. It's in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And if you read it right there, what does it say? It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guard your heart, because everything you do flows from your heart. It's a very, very wise saying, because it says, everything that you do flows from where? Your heart, your mind, right? Everything up here. And one of the things I want to tell you first is, a lot of times we feel we don't have the energy or we don't want to do it anymore and we don't want to start it. But I got to tell you something, a big secret here is this. Energy doesn't come from food. Food just gives you calories, right? Energy does not come from food, but it is controlled from your heart and your mind. This is where energy is controlled from, right? Think about it. If energy came from food, then the people who have the most energy should be the ones that eat the most. But that's not true, because a lot of people that eat the most are, they get overweight. It's not about how much you eat. It's about up here. Your mind, your heart actually controls your energy levels. Let me give you an example, okay? Haven't you guys ever had this when you're gonna go on this really cool trip with your friend? You're like so excited. It's like, yeah, I can't wait. There's a place I wanted to go for so long. Everyone's getting ready. Right before you leave, one of your friends get a phone call and they're like, huh, mom? And they start fighting with their mom. They hang up on the phone. You know what happens? All of a sudden they say this to you. I don't want to go anymore. You're like, what? We're gonna leave right now. And they're like, I don't want to go anymore. What happened? It's not like someone took food away from them in that moment. In their hearts, in their minds, they really, really wanted to go. And then all of a sudden, they talked to their mom, got into a fight, they lose all their energy, and now like, I don't want to go anymore. Where is it controlled from? It's controlled from up here. Think about those other times. Haven't you guys had friends or family that just really needed some encouragement, and they're down on themselves? They're like, oh, I suck. I'm not good at anything. I'm terrible. And then it's crazy, because you will say like one thing, or you'll just say these magic, it feels like magic words, because you'll just encourage them. All of a sudden, like, you know what? I can do it. And you're like, what happened? They were so discouraged. They felt like they couldn't do anything. And then you just talk to them. You encourage them, and all of a sudden, they can get up and start doing things. Where is energy controlled from? It is controlled from up here. And this is something that you really have to think about, right? If you want to understand about where you're, like, what gives you the energy to do something, let's take a look at children, because children they're very simple. And if you kind of miniaturize us into children, you can see what makes us want or not want things. So children are easy. Why? Because they're just candy machines. Pretty much. They're not going to do it. You say, okay, I'll give you candy. Ugh, and they'll eat their vegetables. No, I'll get you some ice cream. Then they eat their vegetables. They do. Right? Hey, don't worry, I'll get you a chocolate bar. Oh, and they start eating their vegetables. Even if they hate vegetables, they'll eat it. If you say, I'll give you some candy. Oh, okay, and they'll eat it. Right? You're not going to do it. You're going to clean. If you don't clean, no dessert today. Oh, no, and they start eating their vegetables. That's what it is. Children are like candy machines. Why? It's because of what they want. In the same way, too, we have to realize, for us, too, as human beings, as we grow older, that principle of being excited about what you want doesn't change. What changes is the things that you want change. It becomes a little bit more complex, right? It becomes a little bit bigger, like houses and cars and money or jobs or these types of things. So let me tell you another really, really good verse that it's very wise for me. It's in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. Interesting verse, and it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." I want you to think about that. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's an interesting question. So I'm going to give this question to you is, what is your treasure? Because whatever your treasure is, your heart goes to it. Have you ever wondered why people can have energy to do bad things? It's because that's what they want. There's something they want. And how some people can endure such terrible suffering, but they can still do it, is because that's their treasure. Your heart is where your treasure is. So the thing I want to talk to you about today especially are knowing what the right treasures are. Like, this is a very important thing I want everyone to understand is, what is your treasure then? What is the thing that your heart goes towards? And the thing is, the thing that I've noticed when I talk to a lot of people and I counsel with them, it's their treasures, or what they think in their heart and their mind, is either unrealistic, or it's an unrealistic or a wrong expectation. And this is what causes people to do certain things, but the outcome is not what they expected, so they give up because, like, well, I thought it was going to be like this. And if you keep going through those experiences of doing things and it's not what you expected, then you kind of wonder, like, well, why do I have to go through this again when it might not even give the right result? So what I want to talk about today are two things that you can think about really deeply when it comes to finding out what your treasure is. The first one is this. Temporary treasures only give temporary results. What does that mean? Right? Because remember, we're talking about where's your treasure. If your treasure is something temporary, but you're expecting something to last even longer than that temporary thing, what happens is you get disappointed and you kind of want to quit. I'll give you an example. It could be about jobs, it could be money, it could be cars, it could be houses. But you have to realize is your treasure has to be the right treasure. Because there's a lot of people, what happens to them is they find something and they think that getting this new Mercedes-Benz S-Series car is going to make them happy for a long time. But we all know this, that it doesn't matter what car it is, but if you have something for long enough, you get bored of it or it becomes normalized in your life. It doesn't last very long. These temporary things like getting the new iPhone, which this is not an iPhone by the way, but I really want one, right? Getting a new iPhone, getting a new drink, getting new clothes, getting new tech equipment, getting new cameras, getting new mice, whatever it is, in the beginning it's exciting, but we all know that it's temporary. And it doesn't yield the results that we want. And the one thing you have to understand about human beings is, in our hearts and our minds, we want something that lasts a little bit longer, but you have to realize it's an unrealistic expectation to think about something very temporary and expect it to last longer than what it really will. And this is where we get a lot of problems in, or a lot of disappointments, and we start quitting. Let me give an example of another verse. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, great verse. And what it talks about, it says, we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. What is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal. So what does that mean? The thing you have to understand is, eventually, as you go through life, you'll realize one thing is, a lot of the things that we want are actually not external or these temporary things that you can have, but you realize it's something very, very internal. It is. And the one thing you have to understand about this internal state of heart and mind that you have, it remains with you while situations, jobs, friends, people, where you live, your house and your cars, they all pass by, but this internal part of you continues on. And this is why we have to get into that realization of what is greater. Like, what is a true treasure that we should be looking for? What is it? Right? And that's the first thing to understand is, what is your treasure? Is it important enough? Right? Is it too temporary? Because if it's just getting A's in school, you're going to get that in a year. So what do you do after that? And you know what? That happiness from getting straight A's in the first semester is not going to last to the second semester. Because you're like, oh no, I got another semester. Oh no, I got another semester. It doesn't last. So the first thing I want to tell you is what? Temporary treasures lead to temporary results. They don't last. So that's the first thing you have to think about. The second thing I want you to think about is this, right? Because I'm going to talk about the second unrealistic expectations that we have, or the wrong expectations we have. And the second thing I want to talk about is, you'll never be perfect the first time, or I call this the American movie syndrome. Okay? Now, what the heck is American movie syndrome? American movies are always like this. Oh, there's this huge problem in the world. Something's going to happen. The world's going to be destroyed. So you find this person, they go in to save the day, and they're in that tense moment. They're like, I don't know what to do. Is it this one? Should I cut this wire or cut this wire or cut this wire? And there's like 25,000 different wires. They're like, oh no, this is too hard. What should I do? So he closes his eyes and he picks a wire of the 25,000, just hoping it's going to disarm the bomb. And it's like, click. And we're like, huh. It stops, and you save the world. It's a crazy thing. In every American movie, because it's such a short movie, in the end, there's like some guess, right? In one shot, they make it happen, and the whole world is saved. Like, yeah, and you're like, wow, look at them. They did everything that in that one shot. They were so amazing. And the answer is, when you look at movies, a lot of them just come by luck, and they do it for suspense, right? It's luck. It really is. Like, if you look at the way that movies do it, nothing is perfect the first time. It is an unrealistic expectation to think that you can do things perfect the first time. Right? Think about the movie. The movie's just a movie. But we follow it like, the love stories. Like, it's so unrealistic. All of a sudden you see this great movie story, and then you have this person riding a horse, picks you up, puts you on the back, and then you ride into the sunset, and everything is so beautiful. You're like, oh my gosh, I wish there was a guy like that in this world. And let me tell you something, there isn't. There's no guys like that. I'm sorry. Right? Because guys don't think that way. We don't want to ride horses. We don't want to ride horses. I'd rather like pull up in a Lamborghini. Or the Pope is something completely different. Guys don't think that way. But the girl's like, oh my gosh. Oh, my knight in shining armor. We don't want to wear armor. I'm sorry. We don't want to wear armor. It's like the most dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then they give me a rose. I don't want to give you a rose. Unless you really, really want it, I might give it to you once. Right? But the thing is, it's different than reality. But we kind of get ourselves into these movie minds, and we think that everything's supposed to be so perfect. But it's not. You know what? Don't romanticize too much. These movies are movies. They're not real. And even the true stories they have, most of them are dramatized. Or they say, based on a true story. You know what based means? Based means the story wasn't good enough, so we're going to make it more dramatic. So it's like this guy, he fought for you, and then he got a cut, like a paper cut. But instead, he's fighting with a sword and his arm gets chopped off. Oh, I did it for you. Oh, my valiant. It's so crazy. It's crazy, right? We have to get our minds out of that. Get out of the unrealistic expectations. Know that nothing happens perfectly. There's a famous verse in the Bible. Everyone knows about this. Famous verse. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. It's so famous. I don't even have to, when you look at it, you know it, right? Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be given to you. Knock and the door will be opened unto you, right? We know this one. Super easy. Do you know why I like it? I like it because there is no time indicator. It doesn't say ask 27 times and then it'll be given to you. Or it doesn't say like seek for 27 minutes and it'll be given to you. Or knock on the door 27 times and it'll be open unto you. There's no time indicator, which basically means what? The one thing people are forgetting about this, it means that you have to ask until you get it. You have to seek until you find it. You have to knock until your knuckles hurt. Start using your head. Start using your elbows. You have to do it until what? Until the door is open. People look at this as like it's some type of easy thing, but no. I love it because there's no time indicator. It's until it happens, until it works. You see, I'm going to ask everyone out there, some of you are with faith. I'm going to give you, I'll ask people with faith, people are Christian, whatever it is, or any religion, okay? How many times you ask once and God's like, sure, boom. You're like, God, $1 million. $1 million just drops in front of you. How many times you're like, oh God, please, oh, I want that job. It's yours. Oh my God, it never happens in one shot. Never. It's so rare. So rare. Nothing happens like that so quickly. It's until you get it. It's until you find it. It's until the door is open. See, the notion that things will work out the first time is crazy. It's literally crazy. Why? Because nothing works like that in this world. It is a crazy American movie syndrome. How does it work? You try something, you gain info from it, and then you fix it. And then you do it again. And you try it again. You gain more information from what you just did, whether it was right or wrong. Then you tweak it and you fix it again. And you keep going over this cycle until you do it properly. What's stopping you from starting this American movie syndrome? It's basically you think you're a failure because you couldn't do it in the first shot. It is ridiculous. And that's why you have to pull that out of your mind. Right? Remember, it's what's up here that's stopping you. Why? Is anyone dragging you, stopping you from doing what you want? Is your parents grabbing you, chaining you to the door and saying, don't do it? Is any of your friends coming to you, putting you in a headlock? Like, no. They're like, oh, come on, don't do it. Is anyone doing that? No one's doing it. No one's tying your arms. No one's doing anything else. What's happening? You are tying yourself in your mind. You tie yourself up. You lock yourself up. No one does it. Like, I don't care what country you're from right now. There's very few countries that do it. Like, maybe, like North Korea. And some other countries. No one's doing that. You can do it. It's just your mind is stopping you from doing it. I'm going to give you some good advice right now. And you know what it is? Make a bad first try. You know what that means? It means that know that it's not going to be great the first time and do it bad anyways, because it's not going to be perfect. Just do it. Even if it's haphazardly, even if it's 50%, just do it. You know why? Because once you do it, now you have information. And that information allows you to see how it works and to do it better. And then you get more information, you get to do it better. You get more information and you get to do it better. Even if you do it at 50%, at least you have something to work off of. Let me give you an example. When I played basketball for my high school team, I was the captain of the high school team for basketball. And you know what? It's the difference if you want to get coached. I'm terrible. I shot with two hands. It was terrible. But once my coach sees how terrible it is, he tells me how to fix it. But if I never shoot the ball, he has nothing to say to me. It was a terrible first shot. It's okay. Because from that information, the coach gets to change my form, change the way I shoot until it's proper. If you don't do anything, you have nothing to go off of, nothing to improve from. And that causes more problems. I'm telling you, start terribly. And it's okay. Don't worry. Start terribly, because at least you'll have something, right? Everything I'm telling you today, as I wrap this up with the last thing I want to say to you guys is, everything begins and ends up here. It's all up here. It starts and it ends here. Because I'll tell you one thing, we're talking about starting, right? You can't start because of this, and a lot of people don't even finish because of this. They give up in the middle because of this, right? Everything starts from here. And from here, we have to push forward and start new things. I'm telling you guys, it's already June 4th. 5th? June 4th. It's June 4th. It's only 4 days in. Start something. I don't care what it is. You got to start something, the things that you wanted to do. Even if it's exercising, you do 5 push-ups tonight, that's a start. It is. Start something terribly. And look at it as a fun way, okay? So I hope that you guys understood what was talked about today in today's Bubble Talk. First steps in starting something new, and you got those 2 points especially. The unreasonable and the wrong expectations we have in our mind. The very first one is we're basing it on these temporary things, or things that are actually just wrong, that you shouldn't be basing it on. And is where people have too many bad experiences, and they don't want to do it anymore. And the second one is the American movie syndrome, where you think that everything's supposed to be done perfectly in the first shot. No, I'm telling you right now, start terribly. It's okay. Why? No one does it. You know, have you seen the movie The Matrix? No one makes it on the first jump. If you guys, but you know, I think this is from like 2000, 2010 maybe, long time ago. Maybe some of you haven't seen it, but everyone falls in the first jump. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's Bubble Talk. A couple things I want you to know. We are broadcasting live stream on Espresso with Sky on the YouTube channel. So those of you, if you want to see other Bubble Talks, there's already like 15, 16 Bubble Talks, and we have Bubble Talks on that YouTube channel that aren't even on this Facebook platform. So we're going to put the link in there so you can click on it. You can click subscribe, and also hit the bell, because when you hit the bell, you'll get informed when we go live every Tuesday, Thursday nights. Second thing is, if you're on the Bubble Talk Live Facebook page, make sure you click the like. And for those of you who want to do more in-depth studies, right, we're going to do it every Saturday. We have some Bible studies too, every Saturday at 1 p.m. And we're going to put the link into the chat room so that you guys can sign the form and join in. Cool. So now it's time for question and answer from you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys about 5 seconds. Just start writing your questions. Okay? So I'll give you about 5 seconds. I'm going to drink some of my bubble tea, and we're going to start. We'll start the question and answer. Okay, so as we see, some of these questions are coming up either from YouTube or Facebook, or some people are texting it in. Oh, no one's texting in. So YouTube and Facebook. Here we go. Let's go first with Mei Chin in Kuala Lumpur. And the first question she has is, how do you guard your heart? Okay, very, very good question, because sometimes we're affected by the people around us, or sometimes we get very negative and such, right? And it kind of spins out of control in our mind, and then we get into this deep pit of despair, and then we don't even start, right? One of the best ways, and I'm telling you this seriously right now, one of the best ways to control your heart is meditation or prayer, and I'm dead serious. This is actually proven as one of the best habits to get your mind strong. Now, one of the things you have to understand about meditation and also for prayer, these two things, when you really start to focus, when you start to meditate on a certain thing or pray on something, it actually ignites the prefrontal cortex. And what the most amazing part about this part here is, when you train this part a lot, it actually controls emotion. It controls emotion. See, the thing you have to understand is, when you get stressed, the prefrontal cortex shuts off and you're totally irrational. Haven't you ever had that? Like, I'm going to be very serious with you guys right now, because there's tons of stuff happening bad in America. When people get super, super angry, this front part shuts off, and then all of a sudden they start looting and rioting. It's crazy, because this front part of reasoning and emotion shuts off, and all of a sudden you do crazy things. Haven't you experienced it before? When you're so upset or so sad, you either say something stupid or you do something stupid, right? One of the things to train your prefrontal cortex and to control your heart and your mind is to either meditate or pray. And this is something you should be doing daily. And I'm serious about this, more than once a day. But like I said, start small. 2 minutes, 1 minute, okay? And that's how you begin to start controlling your heart. All right, thank you. Good question, May. We'll go to the second person. It's Jim. Jim in PJ. And his question is, starting is a little easier for me, but finishing is harder. How do I finish well? Okay. So part of, like, when you say finishing is hard too, like I was talking about that at the very end, finishing is very difficult too, because you have to keep that same mindset the entire way, even though there's a lot of setbacks and even though there's a lot of things that go wrong. Today I was watching YouTube and I was looking at an entrepreneur, and she was talking about all the difficulties in starting your own business from scratch. whether it's no one supports you, whether people put you down, or whether you go through the ups and downs of, I don't have a good enough logo, I don't have good enough this, or maybe my product's not good enough, and you go through all these setbacks. But the one thing that has to remain the same is up here. This has to be the strongest part that we have more than anything else. Why? Because situations come and go, circumstances come and go, but your mind is a thing that goes through every single one of them. And two things advice I would give you is, number one is make it strong, like what May just asked. To guard your heart is to meditate and pray every single day. Make your heart strong so you can overcome those things. And the second thing is, you got to kind of take a look at what your expectations are. What are your expectations? Is it American movie syndrome? Or maybe your treasure is not the right treasure, right? So those are the two things that I would suggest you look at. Thank you, Jim, from PJ. Let's go into the next one. Next one is Sue Wei. Sue Wei from KL. Sue Wei from KL. And Sue Wei says, you said temporary things lead to temporary results. Is it okay to have these temporary goals and results? And the answer is yes. Okay? But you got to remember what that is. A temporary goal is a temporary goal. And what that means is, if it's temporary, that means it's a step towards something else, right? It's got to be a step towards something else. It cannot be the only step. Temporary results are fine, but it should be leading towards something greater, and that is not temporary, right? Whether it's a state of mind, whether you want to be happy, joyful, have peace in your heart, like it has to lead to something greater than that, right? That's why these are just steps. After you finish this step, you don't need that step anymore, and you're moving to the next step, right? Which means that it's a very temporary goal. So I step on this goal, and then I move to the next one. Once I move over, that step is no longer necessary, right? It is all leading towards something bigger and bigger. So as long as that's not the only thing, it's okay. Yeah, we're all going to have temporary goals that lead towards a bigger treasure, okay? Thank you, Sue Wei. Shinky in Singapore. All right, a question from Singapore. He asks, how do we keep motivated after starting? All right, so keeping motivated after starting, one of the things you have to know about the human mind is a human mind loves progress, okay? So if you think about video games, do you know why kids love video games so much? Because you're tracking progress even along the way. So you're like starting at this and you got to get to the boss level, right? But along the way, you're leveling up. Leveling to level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. New weapon, upgraded your weapon. And by the time you get to the final boss, you've upgraded like 20 times. The one thing about your brain is your brain loves progress. And when you get progress, you get more excited. I'll give you an example. Example is this. Where am I sitting? I'm sitting in a place where I have this nice yellow couch behind me with a blue wall. But what is it? It's exciting because for us, we have a nice green screen here. So once we get the green screen, it's like, oh, progress. Oh, wow. And we get excited. And then we start looking at like 50,000 different backgrounds of what to do for every single show. No, we do, right? Because it's exciting. You get a new camera, you get new mics, you get new everything. And what happens is exciting in the beginning, and we see progress happen, right? In the same way, you have to understand is, when you're doing something, it's kind of connected to what Sue was saying. You need temporary goals along the way. Those temporary things that, like, look, we did this. Oh, wow, we made that first goal. Oh, we made the second goal. Oh, we made the third goal. And you want to have a progress chart, or you want to chart your progress of how far you come, right? When it comes to like fundraising, when you fundraise, you have goals. Hey, within our first target is $1,000. Second target is $5,000. Third target is $10,000, but your eventual goal is $50,000. But you have targets along the way, and what happens is, it's exciting. Like, oh, we hit the first one, you have a pizza party. Then you go to the next one, oh, it's exciting. Then you do it again, and again, and again, and again, right? So we have to realize, while you're doing something to keep yourself motivated, you can't just do it on willpower alone. But part of the thing in your brain is, it's like everyone needs that dopamine shot. Because once you complete something, there's a dopamine that fires in your brain and you feel good about yourself, right? And that's one of the things you need to do. You need to kind of chart your progress. And as you progress and upgrade, it's so much better. You're like, oh, we're getting somewhere. But if no one says anything and you just keep doing something without any idea of how close or how far you are from the end goal, it feels like there is no ending. And that's when people quit. Okay? Thank you, Shinky, for that question. We have another question from Hannah Neo. Hannah Neo on YouTube. Okay. Hannah Neo. Sounds like a Korean word. Either way, right? Hannah Neo. Hannah Neo says, how do you start liking someone you greatly dislike? Wow. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 to 3 different types of advice, but I'm going to give you some good advice here is this. Regardless if you're in the same company, in the same church, in the same family, in the same whatever it is, you don't have to be best friends with everyone. You don't. For some reason, like especially because I worked in a lot of churches before, and now that I do a lot of leadership talks and such, some people have this notion in their mind that they have to be best friends with everyone, like so close. You don't. You don't. Like even in the world, no one has like 35 best friends. No one has that many best friends. You have like 1 or 2. If your goal, if your expectation is to be that close to them, it's not going to work. You don't have to be best friends with everyone. Right? Sometimes some people just be cordial, be polite, and have manners. Right? To like someone doesn't mean best friends. To like someone doesn't even mean to be good friends. And it's not your fault, and it's not their fault. Why? It's just sometimes characters don't match. But it doesn't mean you have to be best friends. Or don't expect yourself to be like, oh, I have to go eat with them every week, and then we're going to do each other's nails, and then we're going to do, I'm only saying this because Hannah's a girl, right? And then we're going to do each other's eyebrows, and then we're going to do this together. No, you don't have to do all those things. Part of it is your expectation of what your end goal with this person is. Because if it's someone you don't really like, but you said greatly dislike, if you're thinking about greatly liking them, it is way too far away. And you don't have to. That's one of the expectations you shouldn't have. Best friends are far and few. A best friend, someone close to you could say everything to, very far and few. And you don't need to be best friends with everyone. You don't even need to be good friends with everyone. But we should love each other. Love meaning respect each other, right? We're not going to say bad things about them. You don't want to give bad thoughts about them, but you just want to be cordial and have manners. Yeah, you don't have to, if your expectation is too far the other side, it's never going to work. So for you, Hannah, if it's someone you greatly dislike, I think their goal is, if they've done something wrong to you, is to reach a level of forgiveness, but that doesn't mean you're going to be best or good friends. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I just hope you don't have that expectation, because a lot of times when I meet people who ask the exact same question as you, their expectation of how close they have to be is much further than even regular people they meet more often. You know what I mean? But it's just like when you meet people on the street, you don't have to make best friends with everyone. You don't. Okay? I hope that helps you out, Hannah. Let's go to Joanne. Joanne in KL. Joanne in KL says, I started something during lockdown and it was terrible. Oh, wow. I find it really hard to go on because it doesn't feel satisfying, like I'm wasting time. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you is, I don't know exactly what it is. Like, I'm sure it's not like dealing drugs or something like that, or doing drugs. I'm pretty sure it isn't, right? But it really, some things you will know looking at the result of why you even started it. Everything is hard along the way, but you should also have a good grasp of who you are. And if you know who you are, and you know the things that you like or don't like, sometimes it's better to just move to something else. But then the thing I don't want to do is, I don't want you to get into the habit like, you'll be like, oh, I don't like this either, and then you just keep moving from place to place. My big suggestion is, no matter what it is, you should at least have some, what's that word? Some final, what's that word? Final, all right, people got to help me out on the internet. What is it? Closure. That's it, closure, right? You need to have closure with things. So even if you might not be able to finish it at 90, 100%, I would still finish it, right? So that you didn't kind of just leave it what it was, unless it's something very unhealthy for you, right? Because some things are not satisfying until the end. Some things are not satisfying until you realize later, oh my gosh, it was so worth it, right? So I don't know exactly what it is, because I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy or how unsatisfying it really is. But usually in my mind, it's really, really good for you guys to finish something and have closure with it, just so it's done, you know? It's almost like making a painting halfway. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You might as well finish it, even if it's going to be at 50 or 60%, for the sake of finishing, right? So I'm not sure, like, yeah, it's a kind of a vague question, but I don't know exactly what it is either. But because some things are satisfying, and they end up not being that good in the end, and some things are unsatisfying, but end up very satisfying in the end. Some things we should do, and some things we shouldn't. And it would really depend on what you are doing or what you started. Okay? Cool. Thank you, Joanne. I believe that was the last question for today. I'm very grateful and thankful for all of you joining us here on Bubble Talk. I think it's the 16th Bubble Talk we've done. So it's been like 4 months already. Yeah, so I think it's the 16th Bubble Talk. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And I hope that even from tonight, that many of you will take the first steps in starting something new. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and the rest of the week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.